Welcome to a new Colos video. I'll be discussing Notebooklm, an incredible new tool. It's supposedly developed by Google, as it shows Google.com. Basically, as the name suggests, this tool takes notes from a book. By book, we mean any source of information, okay? Since we're talking about Google, it's not just limited to PDFs, but can extract info from documents, presentations, websites, and interestingly, even YouTube videos. We can also input our own text or upload our own files if we want. It's amazing, but there's a limit on sources, alright? You can use up to 50 sources. For example, I'll ask it about iStudio Google, which we made a guide for. Let's see what it can do. I'll upload the link and insert it. And there, as you can see, we have the source added. It says the source is empty as it's not a blog, okay? So let's delete it, and now I'll add, yes indeed, the blog I've chosen. I'm going to insert it from the webcatalog.io page, alright? As a result, you can see now the source can be used, and it shows us a source. As you can see, we can do impressive things with one source or up to 50, as I mentioned, like adding quick notes, okay? This allows us to save interesting information that we want. To summarize audio didactically, we can use this to learn info much faster or to create a summary document. Got it? I think it's amazing. This tool is incredible for students or anyone trying to learn new things. Not just because you can add up to 50 sources, but when you ask for an audio summary, it'll say generating conversation. This process may take a few minutes, and it'll end up creating a podcast with two people talking to each other, discussing the blog you've input, which I find absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, it's incredible for learning things in an entertaining way. It's an amazing tool that Google has released. We need to test it, of course, to see its full potential, but it's really fascinating. We can also ask questions based on the source we've provided. Importantly, Notebooklm has virtually no creative capacity, okay? Well, or minimal at best. What does this mean? It means that the ability, for instance, with ChatGPT, you ask something and it pulls info from various sources. But Google, how's this tool working? Sorry, Notebooklm, it's using a database you provide, so it won't invent or connect anything, right? It'll just extract the info you give it. Instead of drawing its own conclusions, it'll talk about what's in the data, okay? Would it be better to have two options, one for processing and another for something else? I don't know, but I find it really interesting. For example, taking a book's PDF, right? A book you've bought, or a course guide, something like that, you know? And being able to upload it and have it create a podcast discussing it. I think that's incredible, and that's exactly what this tool does. How can we add sources to Notebooklm? Well, we can add sources in different ways. By clicking Add Sources here, we can see various options. We can add up to 50 sources on the same topic, which previously had to be manually reconnected. We can publish files like PDFs, TXTs, and audio formats such as MP. It seems to support all audio files. Videos can't be uploaded directly, but we can add YouTube links, website URLs, paste text, or use Google Docs. For example, I've added a Google Studio source, but I could easily grab a link from any video I'm interested in and insert it. Now we have this data source and we can start asking questions, right? Tell me, I'm going to ask you, explain if Google Studio will make tutorial content creators lose their jobs. So based on the info I gave him, a small blog and video, he's creating this text here explaining a bit about the platform, its integrations, which I assume are from the sources I provided. Here he talks about the potential impact on YouTube tutorial creators. Jose David's video suggests traditional tutorials might end, as Google Studio allows interactive learning for any tool. He says this interactive, personalized assistance could reduce the need for external tutorials. Still, content creators could adapt, making content beyond just tool instructions, focusing on advanced strategies, complex problem solving, and ambitious projects using a studio itself. I totally agree. So this is how we can publish notes and make the most of it. You can publish up to 50 sources. Well. Can you imagine making a podcast with just AI? That's exactly what I've got for you today. Notebooklm, oh yes indeed. This AI looks simple at first. It asks you to upload sources like docs, slides, websites, YouTube videos, or text. Using only that info, no creativity, it extracts data from our sources. We can add up to 50 and it'll create audio. You might say, I don't believe it, it's easy. I've uploaded 2 sources, a blog and a YouTube video. Based on this, I'll ask it questions so you can understand what the podcast is about. So what's Google iStudio? Let's get some context for those who don't know. As you can see, it quickly extracts info from these files. It's a platform for creating, implementing, and managing AI models by Google. It explains quite a bit here. Now, if I click on the audio summary and hit load, watch this. I've already made a 15-minute podcast. Can we adjust it to make it shorter? Apparently not. You can download it and change playback speed. Let's hear how this podcast sounds by hitting play. It even includes the speaker's breaths, which my videos don't have because I cut them out with a silence detector. Just kidding, I don't breathe. Jokes aside. We also have the option, as you can see, it's made me a 15-minute podcast. By default, that's what it always generates. I don't think you can configure it, which is a bit annoying because I'd like it summarized in a minute. In fact, I think that'd be addictive. Just sum it up. Boom! Quick. And I could listen to it. Instead, a 14-minute podcast, well, it's a complete guide. I get it, but it could be really useful for learning. For example, imagine you've got a uni assignment and need to learn everything about, say, marketing. You've got a marketing assignment, they've uploaded all the presentations, but you're dreading it. Well, it's as simple as taking those presentations, uploading them here as a source, and boom! Done. No need to go to class. I'm kidding, but the info it gives seems pretty accurate. It could be a good way to review what you've learned. There's another option called interactive mode, but watch out. It's my first time trying it. Play audio, join. Well, it's in beta, but it doesn't work. That's why I hadn't tried it before, okay? Not because I don't prepare the guides. Seems in the future we'll be able to talk to a host, make our own podcast. Cool for those with no one to chat with. Bit crazy, but that's AI for you. One of its darker paths, you know. It is what it is. So that's it for this video testing Google's AI podcast tool. I think it's great for studying. It lets you create notes and more. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Well. How can we take notes on the info we're feeding into Notebooklm? After all, the tool is called Notebooklm. It's about note-taking, not podcasting or AI chat, though that's part of it. For instance, I've got a notebook here where I've been asking about Google Studio. I've asked what Google Studio is, and let's say this info is crucial to me. By the way, if you click here, it'll show you the sources of this information. And there it is. Source app, basically from the blog. I've uploaded a blog post and a video. It pulls the info from there, which is really useful for learning. So let's grab this info and I can click here to add a note. it says new note. Now some screens are popping up. I click add note, new note. I put this in and tell it, I can copy it exactly as is, Look, I only put the title. I had just put it there for a moment. Google Studio, it's awesome. I've got the note now, and I have the note saved there. What's this useful for? Well, as it says, for studying. I can have notes generated automatically. These 4 types of notes, like a study guide, I can also make a facts, FAQs, a summary, and a timeline. So you can see the study guide is basically for studying this section. Then we'd have the FAQs. What's Google Studio and what's it for? What are some key features of Google Studio? How do I interact with Google Studio? What are the benefits of using Google Studio? How can I learn to use a new tool with Google Studio? What options? I mean, it just made the guide for me. Well, no, not really. I'm looking at the best and... Nope, there's quite a bit of missing info, I must say. She jotted down a quick note, but even with 20 more sources, it might not be enough to help. And finally, we have the... Which one's the chronology? That's the one I was curious about. Look at that, absolutely. Here's the detailed timeline and main characters based on... Well, timeline. Making a chronology here didn't make much sense, but it split the info into points. Well, it's all under point 1, so that's perfect. As I said, a chronology wasn't really relevant here. And then we have the summary document. Summary doc, Google Studio, intro, document study, overview of the main features. It's really interesting, isn't it? Really very, very interesting. And I'll say again, you can make a podcast. Load it here, create a podcast, listen, and you get this. So you learn the tool in no time, Well, I hope you enjoyed the guide. See you in the next one.